everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for joining me here for this new video. I've been seeing this a lot on YouTube from different booktubers, and I think it's a really cool concept, especially because it is way out of my comfort zone when it comes to books. But in this video, I'm going to be reading three different first chapters of three different books and then choosing which one to continue reading. So obviously at some point I will probably read all three completely through, and this is just a little bit different for me because typically I pick a book and I read it the whole way through. I'm not someone who bounces around from book to book before finishing things. I very much like to start a book and finish the book, start a book and finish the book. So this is definitely kind of out of my comfort zone, but I thought it'd be fun. Today is Friday and I'm going to read our first three chapters. I picked three paperback books in my collection currently. The first is called The Minuscule Mansion of Myra Malone. And this came out relatively recently, I believe, but I don't know, it sounded very interesting. I don't remember what these are about, like in specifics at all, but we're gonna read the first chapter and see which one draws me in to continue reading and finish in this vlog. The second one is one that absolutely everybody loves. I see people talk about it all the time. It's called The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. Very cute cover. And then the third is one that I picked up recently called A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon. Thought that was a cute, funny title. But anyway, those are the three that I'm going to read the first chapter of in this vlog and decide which one is going to draw me in long enough to finish the book. As always, I'm going to kind of walk through each step of the process with you and talk about things. Sorry if you hear noise, my dog is just running around like a little wild thing, playing with something. I'm going to read the individual chapters in each book, talk a little bit about them, and then pick the book that we're going to continue talking about in the rest of this vlog. Anyone else ever try to read and their dog just lays on them? No, just me? Hi, Josie. Okay, so I read the first chapter of A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon. We've met our main character named Marielle, who is a witch and lives in a town that's, like 75% magic people, magic folk. But it seems like non-magic people and magic people live together and kind of always have. Like, it's not weird for there to be magic. It's just part of the world. She has this legacy that she's trying to live up to from her mother, who is like this world-renowned witch for teleportation. So she kind of is trying to like live up to this expectation from her mother, but is just really not good at it, at spells and whatnot. The only thing she is really good at is gardening magic. But unfortunately, her mom doesn't really value that. So that's what we've learned in our first chapter. She has to do some baking for someone, and so she decides she's gonna try to like summon the ingredients. And in doing so, she accidentally summons who I presume is this guy on the cover. So that is where we're at with chapter one of this. Let's move on to the next book. Okay, I'm one chapter into The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, and we've met our main character. Could be Mika or it might be Micah. I'm not sure how she pronounces it. But anyway, we've met our main character and we learned that there is this society that she calls the Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches that meets every third month on the third Thursday of the month at a different location, and they talk about witch stuff, spells and things of that nature, but also if there's any safety concerns, that sort of thing. And they can't talk to each other outside of that because in this world, witches are not well known, or at least not like accepted. It's hard to tell so far where we're going with that, but it seems like being a witch is not part of society really. It's kind of still a secret. Mika is in this group, and the oldest and also like the leader of the group named Primrose is upset with Mika because Mika's started a social media presence where she pretends to be a witch and does like spells and stuff. She's pretending, but obviously she's not pretending because she is actually a witch. And Mika doesn't see an issue with this because she's like, no one's actually going to believe I'm a witch. But little do we know, we also in this first chapter get the perspective of this elderly man and might be his son, I'm not sure yet, that have two, I guess, daughters or just young girls that are witches in their family or like living with them or something like that. And they're trying to, I think, like give them like a role model or something like that. And the older man is absolutely convinced that Mika is a witch. He's seen her videos and he like thinks that she's a witch for sure and wants to try to convince her to come and stay with them. And that's where we're at in this book. So very interesting. I don't know if it's as funny as the first book. That one was like laugh out loud, had some funny moments in that first chapter. This one is just very interesting, and I feel like that's what like really draws me in. So let's move on to our third book. All right, so our first chapter of Minuscule Mansion of Myra Malone is actually a blog post because I read the back just to like kind of remember the synopsis, but I'll read the first sentence because it'll give you an idea of what this is about. From her attic in the Arizona mountains, 34-year-old Myra Malone blogs about a dollhouse mansion that captivates thousands of readers worldwide. So the first chapter is just her introductory blog post describing this dollhouse mansion that she can kind of make into anything anyone wants. So design-wise, I don't know why I find this so fascinating. Actually, I think I do. Have you seen those miniature TikToks and reels and stuff where like people make like miniature pancakes in like a miniature pan on a tiny little stove? Like, I don't know why I find that so fascinating, but dollhouse, like the idea of a dollhouse that she's like a dollhouse mansion that she can create into literally anything is so cool to me. I didn't actually get that much detail because it's just that initial blog post, so it's like 2 or 3 pages is the first chapter, but I'm so hooked because I want to know more. I want to know more about this mansion and like how it works and why she blogs about it and what's up with her, and I don't know. Sorry, my dog is doing something. Josie, do you mind? I'm trying to film this video. Yes, you're very cute. Anyway, very interesting, but I don't know, all 3 books, can you not eat the books? All 3 of these had like very good first chapters. I have to think a little bit about which one I think I'm gonna read in this vlog, but what are you doing? You got your pretty bows in your hair? I don't know, I'm gonna think about it, and tomorrow when I pick up the book, I'll explain like why I wanted to do that one. But honestly, all 3 sound very interesting. I don't think I could go wrong with any of them. Happy Saturday, everybody. It is about 2 o'clock or so, and this evening we're going to my fiance's sister's house for a game night. So I decided I'm gonna spend the afternoon reading the book that I chose from the chapters that I read. Drumroll please. I ended up going with The Minuscule Mansion of Myra Malone. I think it's less about the first chapter and more about my current obsession with those TikTok miniature videos. Like I said, the first chapter in this was a blog post for the blog that Myra writes about the dollhouse that she has. And so far we have learned how she received the dollhouse. It was from her step-grandmother Trixie before she died. It was given to her by her grandfather after Trixie died, and Trixie died when Myra was, I think, 2 or 3, and she like absolutely idolized her and loved this dollhouse, and that's how she got it, was from her grandpa after Trixie passed away. Now Myra's in her 30s and she doesn't leave the house much. She lives with her mom. Her best friend comes over pretty much every day and helps her run her blog and like monetizes everything and kind of manages it. And we've learned that Myra's mother has sort of a shopping addiction, or she's trying to feel less lonely and does that by buying things. So unfortunately, Myra is very close to having their house auctioned off by the bank. And so she's trying to determine with her best friend how they can salvage the house. So I'm 6 chapters in. I started it a little bit ago and I'm really enjoying it so far. But I don't know, I just got to chapter 6 and I think we're going to be introduced to a new character, and I'm not sure how he's going to be like woven into the story, but I'm interested to find out. So let's keep reading. Hey everybody, it's Sunday evening and I'm about a third of the way through this book so far. I'm really enjoying it. There's a lot of complexity to the storyline of this, so I'm gonna do my very best to describe it for you. But pardon my appearance, I just did a workout, so I'm looking a little bit rough. Where we're at right now is that Alex, the one who emailed Myra and said, you know, your miniature house looks exactly like my house, a real house. We've now learned that it is in fact a real house that Alex and his family have lived in. So that's kind of interesting. And we also learned that there's a lady of the house that stays for a while and then I think kind of disappears for a while because she has been around for centuries and like doesn't age. So she kind of has to like reappear every so often as different people in order to maintain, I guess, like appearances, sort of. So I'm interested to see who it is that is the woman. If it's Trixie, or who Myra knows as Trixie, who Alex knows as Willa. I don't know. It's all kind of complicated. Josie can tell you it's a little bit confusing, right, Jose? She just wants to eat the book. But anyway, I am really enjoying it. I just wanted to give you a heads up. I'm about a third of the way through the book, and it is a little bit of a complex plot. So if you're not interested in that, if you have trouble following when there's, you know, 3 or 4 kind of interwoven storylines, you might not like this, but I really enjoy that sort of book. So far I'm having fun and trying to piece together how these people are going to like meet and how their stories intertwine together. But I will check in with you soon, probably when I'm about halfway through the book. Again, pardon my appearance and also pardon the noise. My fiance is making dinner, so it's a little bit loud, and just in general, if you hear any noise, just disregard it. But I am really enjoying this book and having a good time reading it. Hey friends, it is Monday night. I am coming at you from a little bit of a different angle in hopes that this entire vlog isn't just me sitting on my couch. I had planned to update you like halfway through the book, but I just got so engrossed in it that I have finished it. So instead I'm gonna kind of wrap up my thoughts and tell you what I think. And that is that this book is such a complicated story, but really, really heartwarming, and our characters just feel very almost like whimsical. It's a very cozy type of feeling to read this book, except for one of the characters who I despise. But anyway, basically our protagonist, Myra, eventually kind of develops an online email relationship with this Alex guy, and they start to figure out how their stories intertwine, and ultimately we learn more about how the house is connected to the lady of the house and what being the lady of the house means, and also just a little bit about Myra and Alex, their family histories and how they've come to where they are now. Myra and Alex each have very complicated family dynamics and relationships with the people in their family, and eventually we do get to the point where their online, you know, chatter kind of becomes phone calls, which may or may not become meeting in person. But obviously for Myra, because she's so closed off and so reserved since the accident that killed Trixie and kind of left her physically quite, they don't go into a lot of detail, but perhaps like a lot of physical deformity after the accident, at least like in her face is what it seems like according to the book. She's very hesitant with new people. She doesn't like ever leave her house, and so it's it's a story about how they come together, and it's a really beautiful story, but it is incredibly complex. Like I said, there's just a lot going on. There's Myra's perspective, Alex's perspective, Alex's dad's perspective, Trixie's perspective, plus we're learning about other characters in their families during that whole time too, even though it's not from their perspective. So there's just a lot going on, but honestly, the whole concept of the mansion becomes less here are just like little miniature pieces and more like the lady of the house is simply feels at home there. And yeah, it's a really beautiful story and a very, I think, neatly tied up ending that I very much enjoyed. I can't give anything away. It would just ruin the whole thing. So I can't go into too much detail, which is why I'm kind of trying to be vague. And I would give this book 4 stars. I think the only thing that I feel like kind of knocks it down from a 5-star for me is just how complex the concept of like the lady of the house is. It took me a while to kind of get into it and to grasp what being the lady of the house meant. So in that sense, that kind of adds to that complexity component. But the story itself, our characters, I feel like Myra's really relatable if you're someone who's quite introverted or very shy. I really enjoyed it, and like I said, I'm hoping that me filming here tonight is hopefully more exciting than filming on sitting on my couch for the like 3rd time in a row. So maybe a slightly different background. Anyway, I think that's it for this reading vlog, and I will update you as I continue to read. Obviously, there will probably be a new reading vlog up next week. And this was a really fun, kind of different way to read. Like I said, I usually just read all the way through. Like I don't read a chapter and then decide if I'm going to continue reading. Doing that in this vlog and having 3 different possibilities was really interesting, and I am glad that I picked this one because I was just so enthralled by the idea of like miniature things like I talked about. I am still really excited to read the other 2. It wasn't because those chapters didn't appeal to me or like didn't call to me. That's not the case at all. So those will probably be featured in an upcoming reading vlog as well. If you're interested in knowing my thoughts on either of those books, let me know and I can definitely talk about them. I think that is it for this vlog. I am going to wrap up and go watch the baseball game upstairs with my fiance, and I will talk to you all very soon. Bye.